It's me.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Off Script, the podcast. I'm your host, May. Maybe I'm your host. Who knows? Anyways, I can't say today that I can't be like, yeah, today's not like the usual podcast, because I don't have a usual yet. But I can say that this isn't something that I will be doing typically. I am a writer of sorts. I enjoy poetry and writing as a form of both exploration and expression. Expression. There we go. Expiration. But no, I use it to both learn and to reflect. It's something I do a lot. I love metaphors. I love poems. I'm gonna have to put on my glasses to read though, so I'm so sorry for whatever you guys are about to see. My deepest apologies. So here's just one note I have. It was a time, spontaneous time. Every thought is a function, multiple layers and pathways to follow. Even as it passes, the dissection cleared, it echoes. A thrill, thumping on the back of your brainstem. It lingers, only to reappear again, which adds new layers to the affair. Why are you back? Was it a mistake or a purpose? Was something left unsaid? Or simply a new beginning? Every solution that may be palatable enough to swallow comes with a new quandary. Guys, how did I use these words that I can't even pronounce? Can we talk about that? I love me some synonyms. I'm just gonna say that much. It's easier to be labeled as sick, but some find satisfaction in unwinding, dissecting, and putting it all back together again. To follow the narrow pathways of the psyche. The scariest part of it all is when you realize that they can do it to you too. Don't ask what possessed me to write that, because I do not think you will like the answer. That makes it sound ominous, and like I like that. I don't think you guys are going to be able to see anything from my iPad. I'm going to have to cut this out anyways. But we're getting somewhere. Silver Springs is playing in the background. You'll never get away from the sound of the woman that loves you. Oh my god. My ex-boyfriend actually sent me that song. Isn't that funny? Like, okay, girly pop. You're right. I won't forget it about you, but that is only because of the trauma you have caused. Hold on, I have to check my mic is on. It is. Guys, my iPad is just like the normal background. Like, I feel like I haven't customized it at all. I use it to, like, tattoo design and just draw. Like, I love using Procreate on here. But other than that, I don't really use my iPad. Like, here's a tattoo I designed. It's for my dad. He loves barn owls. I plan on getting it on my spine, maybe. I don't know. I'll think about it. Here's like a draft for a Radiohead lyric. What song is it? It's... I don't want to be wrong, is my problem. Why am I on Apple support? Not now. Radiohead. Songs. All I Need. I haven't even found it yet, but it just like clicked in my head. All I Need by Radiohead. I love that song. Well, obviously I don't like it that much, but I like it a decent amount. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm. We finally got it pulled up. So, this memoir I wrote, it's called An Ode to You. You being the reader, or me in some metaphysical sense. Um, but it's just something I decided to write because, like, again, always been writing, but my therapist, I used to write like metaphors and give it to her because I couldn't express what I truly needed to in the durations of therapy sessions. Like, I'd forget or something else would be pressing on my mind. So I'd go into my notes app and I would write metaphors. And she was like, wow, you really have a knack for writing. You know, you should write a book one day. And I was like, maybe I will. That was about 2 to 3 years ago. And I didn't write a book. It's only like 15,000 words. So it's more of it's a memoir. But I have like different chapters on it for some reason. There's For some reason I decided to make chapters. So the table of contents, chapter 1, the root you can replant. That one is about trauma. 2, the things you should have been told. There are so many people I want to just send this section to. Like, I just want to clip the section off as its own thing and send it to so many people. Like, even people I see online. Because I'm like, these are things you should have been told and things you should know. And like I don't even care that it came from my memoir. I could find like quotes on Pinterest and still want to send it to people because I feel like there's things that people should be told but are not. And like, if you can recognize that, then be that person to tell them. Also, do you guys like my cow slippers? I had to make sure I didn't post my feet on the internet. And third chapter is Quiet Violences. That's about mental abuse. Number 4, The Loneliness I Had Made Home. Number 5, Physical Canvas. That's about self-harm. 6, The Knight in Shining Armor, a metaphor I would use very frequently. 8, The Art of Compassion. 9, Insights from an Internalist. 10, And Still I Wrote. 11, An Ode to You and I. And then 12 is a resource page. So I think I'm just going to read a little bit on and off because a lot of these are touchy subjects that would need a lot of disclaimers. But I do want to read off some of the things and the things you should have been told section because I think it should get out there somehow. Not every silence meant safety. Not every smile was love, but you were always worthy of both, was the quote. Because after every little like title, I put a little header with a quote. And like, it wasn't like quotes I found off the internet. It was quotes from me. But I thought it was cute. You aren't meant to fix others. This is something I had struggled with for a while. I felt like my meaning was meant to be some kind of protector to those who I had allowed to hurt me. But despite the hurt I felt, I still tried to empathize with them. That doesn't make you weak. It simply means that your heart is bigger than most people know how to handle. I'm sure a lot of them are scared of vulnerability, just as a lot of people end up being after experiencing trauma. So they respond in ways they were taught, and that does not mean you are obligated to mend them. You can't control someone else's thoughts or actions. If you can forgive others, then you can forgive yourself too. Forgiving yourself doesn't make you conceited. If you've forgiven others, then there's no reason not to give yourself the same leniency. People say to treat others the way you want to be treated, but when are you going to start treating yourself the way that you want to be treated? If you haven't been, then start today. It won't be an easy or quick process, but it's one that will benefit you so much more in the long run. I truly believe that you cannot love someone else until you love yourself. On top of that, don't go looking for yourself in someone else because, spoiler alert, you won't find it. You can find yourself alongside someone else. Honestly, that is one of the purest forms of love. Someone who can support you through your journeys instead of integrating themselves as the main focus. Never use someone else as a sense of identification because you won't find it. That'll only lead you further to lose yourself. Sorry, Radiohead's playing in the background. If you have to wonder if you're a bad person, then you aren't. Bad people don't wonder if they're bad because they don't believe they are doing anything wrong. That aching, soul-crushing anxiety or guilt you feel, they won't. Everyone makes mistakes, and if you can admit that and account to your own, that already puts you on a higher scale than you know. If religion, other people, or even your own thoughts make you question if you're a bad person, then look into yourself and question if what you're doing is actually bad or you were just made to believe such. Furthermore, anyone's definition of bad is different. No one's will perfectly align since that's not how opinions work. No one's opinions are exactly the same, and that should genuinely be taken into account when you're evaluating your goodness. I'm just scrolling on my big ass iPad. I'm an iPad kid. Y'all, that's like the most existential thing. Like this whole memoir don't even account to the fact that I'm an iPad kid. Like 19 years old, lugging around my iPad. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about that? Then proceeds to go into whatever this is. You're allowed to take up space, physically, emotionally, verbally. This one I hope hits as close to home as it does for you as it does for me, because I was a person who would shrink in my own home, leave the kitchen empty-handed if someone else entered it, and would stand off to the side out of fear of being in the way. But you are allowed just as much space as anyone else. It is so freeing just to roam anywhere mindlessly. Maybe even making offhand comments to yourself and simply enjoying the space you are in because you deserve to. You shouldn't have to feel as if you are walking on eggshells for the sake of others. Be loud, be proud, and be authentically you. Guys, am I reading like a storybook teller? Like, do I look like I like Winnie the Pooh? Because I do. Don't question that. Hold on. See? We big Winnie fans! Anyways, back to the subject at hand. You're allowed to miss people who hurt you. Missing is human, going back is optional. I am someone who has a very big heart, meaning I'll miss even the person who hurt me the worst if the memories were grand enough. But what you have to realize is that they're out of your life for a reason. And yes, that'll hurt, but they hurt you just the same. It's difficult as hell in the beginning. I won't sugarcoat it because frankly, sometimes I'll still miss the people who have hurt me. But that's simply because I'm missing the memories, the happiness, but not the person. Comparison is the thief of compassion. Your trauma doesn't have to be the worst in the room to be valid. This goes with almost everything I've stated before. Comparison is a pest. Though I've yet to explain how other forms of comparison can be unhealthy. Maybe it'll stem into envy or even jealousy, which are negative emotions. It can make people scornful and rude, taking out those frustrations on others because they want what they have, or simply you'll downplay yourself since someone else may have it worse. Both are things that can be avoided because your experiences are just as valid as anyone else's, and vice versa. Don't get mad at someone who comes to you with their issues, even if they're easier to deal with than your own. Which, by the way, is all, like, fact of opinion and experience. You can think that something is easier for you when really it's more difficult for someone else because their processes are different. How their mind perceives and intakes information is not going to be the same wiring as yours. Therefore, you cannot assume how something will impact someone else. Even if you were able to breeze past this situation, it no longer, takes hold over you, has any sense of control on your reactions or emotions, that may not be the same for someone else, which means you shouldn't downplay them or yourself. Because you can assume that you got through it easy breezy, but that might have just been you internalizing those issues and compartmentalizing them for later. It's like just stuffing it in a drawer until you find it. And trust me, if you don't find it, it will find you. You are not a burden for having or showing emotions. Okay, not to get vulgar, but people who tell others that they are too much piss me off to no end. You are never too much, and want to know something else? You have no control over how you feel. You can definitely control your reactions, but that bubble in your throat or that tingle in your nose before you cry, that doesn't mean you aren't feeling it. That's more human than people want to admit. And yes, so many people have been taught to control their emotions. Yes, there are scenarios where you should definitely contain your reaction because yelling or crying at your manager at work will not be beneficial. But simply having emotions doesn't make you a burden. Frankly, I'm more drawn to people who are authentic rather than constantly stoic. And I'm sure many others are too. I had to set the iPad down for that one. No, something I absolutely adore about the human species is being able to pick apart someone's psyche and figuring out what in their past has curated what is happening now. Like there's this guy I started watching on YouTube. Like, I wish I could just call it a simple crush. I wish I could be like, yeah, I just think he's fine. Like, I just want him bad. My man, my man, my man. No, I only started watching this person because I noticed how he shrinks himself in groups of people. And I was curious. I was like, huh, I've seen that before. I recognized it. And it opened the door to this never-ending gateway. It's like every single day there's like some new type of like alignment, like something else makes sense. And I don't think I have always had the capabilities of being able to see through people in a way, like not entirely being able to be like, oh, look at someone and immediately recognize their trauma, recognize what they've been through. But I get inklings, snippets, maybe call it an intuition. I don't know, personally. I know I have an intuition, but I don't know if that's where my empathy stems from. It might just be growing up as an analytical child. Like, I would focus all my attention on how other people will communicate with their friends or how they will hold themselves, and then I was basically like a chameleon as a kid. I would change myself to be able to fit into these certain groups because I thought if I did not fit in every single one curated as how they wanted me to be, then I wasn't worth anything, which is something I definitely have grown out of now. And I don't know. Something about catching on to something so minuscule. Like, it was from a TikTok of people romanticizing it, basically. And I don't know. Like, it might seem that I'm grasping at straws from an outside perspective. But, baby, I have evidence. Like, I could probably pull up receipts with clip notes, little footnotes of my thoughts with the answer. And maybe even a solution. Maybe I should just reach out to this YouTuber and be like, hey, I can fix it all for you. I can't fix it all for everybody. But I do want to believe that I have the capability of being able to help, which is kind of what I want to do with this podcast. I was thinking about it, sitting and stewing on the idea, And I think that if this were ever to get big, I would want to have guests on the podcast. Dream guest on my podcast. Sorry. And just, have those deep talks that people are scared of. Because I think this world needs a bit more vulnerability. Like when it comes to emotions and someone's inner world. I just think that, I don't know. I think that this world could use a lot more openness, open-mindedness. Do you guys want to go through my notes with me? I love this, just holding my fucking iPad. I'm dead. Guys, I actually have uh like a whole I told you guys in one of the episodes, I was like, I actually have like a whole list of things for podcast topics. That's on my notes app, and my notes app is on my phone. I connected it to my iPad, and that's all my plans. That's something I love doing, is like planning things. Do I always go through with them? Absolutely not. But I do just love like planning things. Isn't that crazy? We can get rid of this. I might start doing this more, but like I kind of liked having something in my hand, but now I have my iPad in my hand, which isn't going to be a normal thing. Again, this is just getting into heavier topics per se. Here, we'll get into like the knight in shiny armor ones, because like honestly, those ones were my favorite. Oh, by the way, if you want to read my memoir, it's on my linktree, which I honestly don't know how to actually connect to YouTube. I just keep posting the link in the description, and I have the link like on my channel. But like it's not like a tappable link, it's just like just the words. The urge became too strong as I wielded my weapon, while I bury my feet into the ground and hold my stance. The flash of red clouded my vision as the mighty beast breathed the fire that burned my skin. Do you guys ever like sit back and read your old writing and you're like, girl, where was the grammar? Where was autocorrect? What are we doing? Its claws running down my arm as blood blubbled to the surface. Blubbled to the surface. Don't you just love when blood bubbles to the surface? The sight of the crimson made my head spin. As my vision throbbed, I had let the beast win. I had been doing so well for so long, but now I sit here, staring at the battle scars. The battle I had lost. I am weaker than my peers. Their armor protected their insecurities and fears, but my armor had become too weak. It could only work for so long until I would snap and step back into old habits. I can't let the people know that I lost. They had been rooting for me for so long. I had always been the one to win and impress. It felt as if the statue they had built was not of me. That person did not match who looked back at me in the mirror. I lay on the cold cell of my thoughts, the concrete pressing against my skin as it chilled my body and rested in my spine. Girl, why is the floor in your spine? Building pressure that urged me to move, but I couldn't. My eyes traveled down the weight of my troubles. The mask that covered my insecurities fell down with my tears as I shook the ground. If I went down, so did these brick walls. There I was again. Just that child who wanted to lay in the fields and be the one with nature, who was ripped away from their safe spot to be taken into training, mentally tortured until they could take care of the entire kingdom, like they depended on them. Then it was like the whole world revolves around them. But not in a good way. They were a reason for all the problems that troubled the king and queen. The princes were disgusted by the existence of the young knight, and the noblemen just wanted to watch the way the knight's body moved while fighting the threats of the kingdom. The knight was nothing but a problem to the dear kingdom. They couldn't leave because even though they aren't accepted there, the knights still loved the kingdom and its residents. But will they ever learn to love the night, even when they lost their battles? Guys, I can't read. Like, this whole podcast is just gonna be me. Uh, uh, blood bubble. The talons of my thoughts scratched deep into my back, every ridge scraping against my skin, the feeling quickly getting overwhelming. My skin felt as if it was searing as my breath matches the pace of my eyes flicking around to catch the sight of my surroundings. But it felt as if none of it was actually there. I could see everything, but none of it looked real. I scratched on my skin as if I was tightly wrapping my sheets after waking up from a nightmare. It was just restricting. There was so much I felt like I had to say or feel, but it was all just bubbled up in my throat, and I choked on it. I would say one thing, but immediately regret it, almost as if I was constantly second guessing myself if any of it was real, my feelings, my emotions, my mental health, my thoughts, my surroundings. Okay, so I can't entirely say that it's used to, but I've had a problem with disassociation and depersonalization in the past. And it's not like the kind where I'm seeing myself from a distance, which is actually a crazy and surreal experience whenever you do experience it. But like it's a lot of just my perception making the room seem more cinematic than it is authentic. And that is honestly a very scary experience personally, because I don't think anybody wants to be questioning their reality, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But having to do it on your own, in your own head, is probably what makes it even scarier. I want to read from my section when I find it. Oh, The Darkness I Called Home. That one's about depression. I honestly like that one. I like that one. Because I had to keep finding a bunch of different synonyms for darkness and depression, to the fact that I use melancholia in a sentence. Who does that? Hold on, let me find it. I was asleep during the day and during the night, avoiding all interaction and sitting with my own thoughts, along with the melancholia's continuous whispering. Who writes that, bro? Who's sitting down on their Chromebook like, yeah, that was good. That ate. This memoir took me like a week, I think. Which isn't a lot for a memoir, but that's also why it's like a small memoir. Okay, this is from the Insights from an Internalist. My brain never quieted. Instead, I learned to communicate with it instead of fear or fight it. The laughter will reverberate from the walls, smiles plastered on everyone's faces, yet my own mind will echo louder, analyzing. I will watch everyone's faces, the subtle glances to a partner, the person whose laugh seems the most hesitant, and the minutes ticking down until it'll end. I don't want to not enjoy moments. Frankly, I wish I could, but I was wired to gauge and watch others. So often will I convince myself that I am crazy, saying things like, it's not normal to think this much. Your internal monologue is just psychosis. But from what I've been told, and sometimes what I refuse to believe, is that that's the curse of being self-aware. Anyone can claim to be self-aware, and sometimes people do, but that doesn't mean they truly are, or at least it doesn't amount to someone who is an internalist. I'll spend hours of my day dissecting myself and others to the point where I used to make a game of diagnosing people around me, and they wouldn't have a clue. Was I accurate? Sometimes, but that isn't the point. The point is that even in the company of others, I can never seem to turn my mind off. Quiet the thoughts. Nothing will. I've tried weed, alcohol, or even simply trying to sleep, but it'll all keep me awake. Every night, I stay up until I am exhausted, just so I can fall asleep without my mind slipping into the anxieties and guilt from my past. I'm pretty sure it's called bedtime regression, where you're trying to reclaim time from the day to do things that you want to do, which is partially why I have struggled with insomnia for so long. It's like an on and off issue. Like, it's not like I'm constantly not able to sleep, but it's very reoccurrent where I struggle to sleep. Also, sorry, I'm nasally right now. But I know for a fact I'm not the only person who will do this, who will lay in bed and think back to all the things they've done and let it like freak them out. Because that happens to me all the time. That's why I can't go to sleep. Like, I have to stay up super late so that my body will be like physically cannot withstand being awake anymore, and then I will fall asleep. That sounds crazy. Uh, Guys, cut that. I know that is many different things, not just my internal wiring, but it is something that truly plagues my day. I want to be grateful for it, my capabilities to see and interpret everything so deeply, because there are most definitely advantages to it, but knowing that not everyone else can see it is something scary, because I also yearn for someone to understand. I want to have conversations that reach depths further than just the monsters in our closet. I want to know how others interpret the world, but the sad part is that most people don't speak that language. Yes. Guys, role model started playing. A simple rearranger. I don't think I love you anymore. Oh, guys, don't talk about that. Unfortunately, I am someone who grounding techniques and coping mechanisms rarely work for. In the rare times that I've tried, my mind was louder than any three colors I can name or square breaths I could take. The times that I wouldn't attempt to calm myself down was simply all because I wanted it to happen so that it could stop. I wanted my brain to stop racing to the point it was making me physically ill, and I wanted to be able to feel normal since I had been told so many times that I was too much, or even too emotional, which hit deeper than anything I was telling myself a foot from the mirror. Girl, that's crazy. That is crazy work, truly. That's nothing I haven't told myself from the filter from the mirror. Girl, shut up, bro. It took me a long time to realize that this happened because I was so overwhelmed, emotionally fatigued, but yet I kept pushing in attempts to figure out what was going on because I wouldn't accept the fact that I was allowed to be overwhelmed, simply because of everything I was holding, rather than it having to be something that triggered it. No matter how much I beg for my thoughts to be quiet, I feel like the moments that it actually does are more terrifying than having anything in my mind constantly swarming. I never realized that not talking I never realized that not talking is something I should do more often. I never realized that not everyone analyzes their every movement and action until I had started talking to a professional, which is where every single one of these quotes are from. Notes to my therapist. I was so wrapped up in trying to find something wrong with me, some kind of diagnosis so that everything will finally make sense, but it never stopped to think that a lot of things I do are simple or just simple mannerisms or mistrust, anxieties even. I was so convinced that there was something wrong with me that I tracked my every movement and asked about it. I still do that to this day, but now it's out of curiosity instead of the sake of diagnosis. I'll always be in my head, my internal monologue, naming everything that I can already see like I had turned on narration. But I think it is a blessing to be able to think at depths that not everyone can reach. It's a gift I can use for good. I think I stutter so bad because my mind is working quicker than my mouth is, and I feel like internally I can articulate a lot more than I actually have words for. Quote that. Put that on Pinterest. I'm kidding. I want to talk more about internal monologues and like thinking, because that's something I do a lot of. Like, a lot of my free time is spent asking questions about every minuscule thing, like to the point that I'm like a mild hypochondriac. Because, like, every time I get a new mole or freckle, I immediately notice it because I have them all mapped out, which is kind of crazy because I have a lot of moles and freckles. Like, my shoulders and arms dotted with moles and freckles, speckled with them even. But I will still notice every time I get a new one. Like, I have a new mole on my neck. It appeared after I had, like, a really oddly vivid dream. And, like, in that dream, I can remember feelings or, like, surges. And, like, I knew I had a dream. But I woke up like I hadn't slept at all. Like, I couldn't even comprehend REM sleep. But I had reached it to the point that I had a dream. And it was, like, a really introspective dream, too. Like, I know it was, like, intuition based, but I don't really want to get into, like, spiritual beliefs. At least not in this episode. Because I don't want to be, like, spewing from left end to right end to 42 into 73. I don't know. But let me pull up. Okay, I pull up. Hot Valley after party. I wish I wrote down what I needed instead of talking to ChatGPT about it. Guys, I'm really trying to get out of ChatGPT because I know it's bad for, like, the environment because it takes so much more processors than, like, a normal Google search does, even though Google searches do use AI now. It's just like you have to search further to get specific information. Like, if I don't go to ChatGPT with things that I would normally Google search. I go to ChatGPT with, like, spontaneous thoughts in my head that I want explained. Because, like, if I didn't want them explained, then I would go to, like, one of my friends and just, like, text them whatever I was thinking. But if it's something that I don't think is comprehensible to someone else my age, or, you know, like, just in general, then I'm not going to be like, oh, hey, by the way, you know, I've noticed, I don't know, I noticed how people get quiet whenever they don't talk. How does that even, I'm done. Podcast is over. Now I'm just scrolling through. Okay. So this is something I wrote at some point, apparently. Sometimes I'll second guess what I'm seeing, figuring that I'm projecting or crafting my knowledge into the picture that I want to see, but countless of times, full of listening and interpreting, I know that I'm dead on. I know there's a gentleness in this world that you've yet to experience. I feel it in the depths of my chest, and yet I yearn for you to be able to experience it, rather than just hope that I can give it to you. You make me selfless when I want to be selfish. I want it to be me, yet it doesn't have to be. I'd be content with you truly feeling loved and me not hearing a word about it. I see your name without association of your presence and still hope it's you, but a sign rather than your embodiment. Yet, when I do see things that I assume are signs, I get caught up in the loop of assuming I'm delusional, but what I know isn't delusion. But what I know isn't delusion is how much I want the best for you. I want you to be held without having to ask, to be able to be understood without explaining a word. It's something I know you need. I've seen it in how you hold yourself and approach the world around you. I watch the way you interact with others and simply just hope that one day you'll reach a peace that is tangible. I know that deep love is out there. I feel it within every breath I take and every action I make. And yet, all I want to do is pass it to whoever's interwoven in your timeline, because it's somewhere. I know it's needed. I don't know that I've ever met someone else with my love and capabilities, but all I can do is pray that you do. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't any romantic interest, but then again, how couldn't there be when you're exactly the person I'd want to love? Though I'm not going to press my luck and overreach to the universe in hopes that our paths cross when all I want is for you to be happy. If I was given one opportunity to reach into your fate with my own hands, I wouldn't connect our souls because what's meant to be will be. But what I would do is make sure that the version of you that shrunk himself when he was younger is now being protected with gentle grace. I know the energy I feel whenever I think about it. This means something. Maybe it's just me embracing how I love, but part of me wants to believe it's because loving you is right. Though I know that's a far stretch, you can't blame me for wanting an inkling of my own hope when the rest of it is geared towards you. So I'm definitely a person who, when I love, it's deep, it's obvious, it's not surface level. I can't do surface level like anything. Surface level emotions won't do it. Surface level friendships won't do it. Surface level relationships won't do it. I just can't, like, I need depth to be able to comprehend. Because on surface level, there's nothing to question. It's just flat there, you know, no background, no curiosity. And I feel like I portray love by expressing my knowledge of someone, which is why gift giving is something so big for me. Like, it's something that I cherish very deeply, and it's something that I'm very literate in. I've always been told I'm a great gift giver, and I have notes full of like people's favorite things, even though I memorize most of them. Okay, we're back from a minor mishap. Anyways, I have notes for people when it's not someone I typically give gifts to, but still want to keep in mind because I only have so much capacity to remember so much. But I feel like I remember things more than I gave myself credit for. Like, I'll say all the time that I have bad memory, but then remember the smallest things. But I feel like the smallest things are the ones that matter the most. Like, the things that you don't believe others actually see in you is probably what would be the most important. In just my perspective, you know, what do I know? But I do just want to leave this off on a note saying that you are loved, you are worthy, and you should be who you feel like you are destined to be. And if you don't know what that is, then search inside yourself before you start searching outwards. Because right here and right here, that is where your compass actually lays. So, yeah, I hope to see you again. Also, what I do want to talk about, dream guest on my podcast. I really want guests on my podcast. Oh my gosh, guys, we could Zoom link. I will start Zooming people making a podcast. I'm not even kidding. Watch me. Get up in these comments. Come on, do it. I dare you. Because I want this. I want deep conversations with people. I want to be able to comprehend someone else's intellect and be able to map out someone else's thought processes, because I only know mine. I've only thought in my brain. So I want to meet people who are able to articulate their thoughts and the way their mind moves. And I want them on the pod. I want them on the podcast. Bring them on. Bring them on. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. Bye. Bye.